All right, everyone, welcome back once again to this Beefcast presentation. I'm your casting host, Beef. Joining me once again, Brandon from Muatorn TV. You excited for this match today, buddy?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of BabyKnight, actually. I didn't really know much about him until TL Open. I started watching him, and also, I love Ret, because he's Team Liquid. That's awesome.
Team Liquid, everybody's favorite over here. But like you said, we actually do have this match starting between this Zerg and Protoss player over here. Match is coming today out of WCS Europe. And this is actually upper bracket round 3, I believe. 3, maybe 4. I think it's 3, though. And so, yeah, Cloud Kingdom, going to be where we start this best of 3 off. In the top right-hand corner, playing for Team FXO, the blue Protoss, he is BabyKnight.
And his opponent, hailing from the Team Liquid, he's Ret, everyone's favorite. He's been around forever.
He's been around for a very long time. Like, I didn't really follow Brood War that heavily. Like, I knew it existed. I watched a few games, but I knew who Ret was in Brood War. Like,
everyone knew who Ret was.
Yeah. Like, I barely even knew what the scene was, and whatever.
Ret and Boxer, they're like two people you just know.
That's true. I had heard of Nada as well.
Right.
Trying to think who else I'd heard of, but irrelevant.
I followed more Warcraft 3, so.
Okay, yeah, I definitely followed some Warcraft 3 as well.
Moon and Sky, oh my god.
Yeah.
So good.
I started following that when I saw it at BlizzCon. I hadn't really watched any before, and watching the Legends play at BlizzCon, that was very fun. There's nothing like Orc versus Orc.
Nope. Seeing as, everyone plays Orc.
So we did see a pylon on the high ground over here from our Protoss player. And then immediately going to go Nexus first behind that. Do you think this is going to be some kind of a weird Forge Fast expand? Or we even see...
it should be. I don't really like this. If you like this, I think what he's going for here is the pylon is on the high ground. If he gets 6 pulled, he can save it. But if you want to do that, you just put it by your Nexus. It's better, so then you don't lose your Forge, or you can actually build your Forge right when you see it. When you play it this way, you have to, like he's done, you have to build the second pylon way earlier, so.
Okay.
A little different, but I guess it's okay.
Yeah, certainly. And so the gap that's right here, is this going to be able to be blocked by one Zealot?
Yep.
Okay. Pretty small choke here on Cloud Kingdom.
Yeah, it's a 9 hex or whatever, so Forges and Gateways being 3 hex, and then pylon is 2, so got one little space.
Nice. Yeah, we did actually see that BabyKnight misplaced his second pylon there, so he did have to cancel that and replace that. A little bit unfortunate. Maybe he's not as familiar with this opening as he would be with the standard Forge Fast Expand, and I certainly am not as well. But we did see that Nexus first going down, seeing that his opponent did in fact not go for any kind of early lane aggression, so he's going to be able to get a nice economic advantage out of this build.
Yeah, for sure. You do get a really quick Nexus with this, and he also scouts Ret's 3rd, so he knows no crazy 2-base cheese coming over, so it's going to be a standard game here. We're either going to see BabyKnight do some kind of 2-base or, take a 3rd. It's pretty much the only 2 options now.
Definitely. And so, yeah, like you said, just going to be a completely standard game right now. Not a whole lot going on for either of these players. It's nice that the Cybernetics core is actually going to be back here behind the wall, not going to be vulnerable to any pressure. And we do see the Forge starting to spin up with +1 weapons. Now, that is going to be visible to the Zerg, as he does have that Overlord up here on the high ground. So getting the +1 information for the Zerg is going to probably worry him a little bit. Those +1 Zealots, definitely not something that Zerg likes to deal with in the early game.
Yeah, they can be rough if you only have Zerglings, so Red's going to, just get a Roach Warren. He'll be safe versus this. Also taking 1 gas in his 3rd right now. Is that really early? I'm not sure. Seems kind of late, actually.
Yeah. He's actually going up to 4 gases now, so...
Okay. There we go. Huh. Interesting. Anyway. Like you said, +1 on the way, so maybe some kind of 4-gate timing? Not really sure. He hasn't shown much, but there is only 2 probes in each gas. So that kind of lends towards something that's a little more mineral heavy. He's also taken the gas in his natural, but this is essentially like a 3-gas economy because it's just more efficient because you have to use less probes. So I kind of like this. He's spent 75 minerals to be more efficient. It's worth it.
Yeah. And you were talking about Rhett actually taking those gases, and I like this from Rhett, being able to take these gases over here on the natural. That's definitely something cool, because if Protoss gets in there and scouts the gases at the natural, they might assume that you have gases at the main as well. It's just denying more scouting information to your opponent. And a Zerg with 4 gas is very different from a Zerg with 2 gas. So, yeah, I like that he's able to deny some of that information. A couple Stalkers making their way across the map right now. At the same time that +1 is going to finish, a proxy pylon is being dropped over here at the Zerg 4th base. And probably going to be looking to warp in a ton of Zealots. Zergling speed less than halfway done at this point. These Stalkers being able to successfully micro against these Slowlings and the Queen, with only taking shield damage for the time being. And once Zealot starts getting warped in here, there could be a lot of trouble for the Zerg. Although Rhett, already with 5 roaches in production, might be able to hold this off relatively easily if he micros this properly. Although one Queen going to go not quite down. Rhett managing to save that one Queen as the Protoss army moves in to try to collapse onto some of these drones. A couple of drones going down there, but roaches coming out, and they're going to be able to get some nice damage onto these Zealots. Zerglings connecting with some of these Stalkers, but nice micro from BabyKnight is actually able to save one of the Stalkers for just a minute there. And the Queen coming back in, but the Queen actually going to die to that one Zealot, so that's definitely a bit unfortunate. And the Roach is still trying to effectively micro against these Zealots, but slow Roaches with no Ling support right now, not necessarily the most effective, although creep is certainly going to help.
Yeah, so overall this pressure has been pretty much equal. Neither player's really taken much damage. BabyKnight has been able to limit his opponent's drone production, so he's not going to be behind in there. And there's an engagement right now. The Zealots clean up the Lings really well. But now there's going to be Roaches versus 1 Stalker and 2 Zealots, and the Roaches generally win this if they micro. It's actually up to 5 Roaches now, so they definitely win this. The Stalker gets taken out, and 3 more Zealots got warped in, kind of at a bad time. They're not really going to be able to do anything here, he's just going to lose them, so bit of a misstep there. But we do see a Dark Shrine is almost done, and Rhett is making an Overseer right now. But even if you have an Overseer, if like 3-4 DTs randomly get warped in, they just clean up Roaches, and he's actually going to split the DTs up and go to each base, so this could do a lot of damage. Or not, split them up.
And yeah, like he said, that Overseer actually already there into the 3rd base, and he's morphing another one right now. And yeah, there's one going to the main, one going to the natural, and they're going to start cleaning up a lot of drones at this point. It does take a lot more than this 2 DTs to really kill any kind of major structures, so that's not going to be a concern right now for Rhett. It's just going to be these drones that he's losing, and losing some mining time as well. He has gone ahead and force-stopped his Dark Templar in the main, so unless an Overload flies pretty much directly above that DT, it's not going to be spotted. There's no shimmer while it's not moving. And the Overseer trying to get that done, but right now is not in the correct area. So Rhett could take some damage a little bit later from this, although it did look like he might have spotted the shimmer as the DT did hug the side over here, and the Overlord comes into range, and that DT does fall at the same time that Rhett takes his 4th base.
I must confess, this used to be my standard in this matchup, just like a 4-gate pressure with DT follow-up, and then you take your 3rd while your opponent's dealing with the DTs. If it doesn't work, you're pretty much dead, but generally you can get a little bit of damage done, and then you take your 3rd and get cannons up, and you're super safe. So I really love seeing this. This is something Sase started with, you know, the 4-gate into DT, and then the super fast 3rd, as opposed to more gates. So I really like this. Blinky's also on the way, along with +2. He's triple producing probes, so lots of economy coming up, and 2 more gateways being added to wall off at the entrance right in front of his natural. I love this as well.
Yeah, so Rhett's going to run a couple of changelings in that Overseer into the 3rd base. Going to see his opponent's army composition pretty heavy on Immortals and Sentries right now, but with that Blink coming in and +3 Blink, Stalkers are going to be able to so effectively deal with Roaches, and to some extent be able to deal with small numbers of Infestors. The problem for Rhett at this point is that he's not really going to that tech right now. He's got that pathogen glands out, but right now he's still just sitting on these Lings and Infestors, and unless he gets some tech out pretty soon, his opponent's superior army forces are going to be able to overwhelm him with just a better composition.
Yeah, and you know, problem here for BabyKnight, like, he has a good economy, like, he can triple produce probes and everything, but he is actually undersaturated in his main, and it's kind of getting close to mining out. This 3rd is a little later than it should have been, and now he's undersaturated by 1 in his natural, which isn't a big deal, and he's actually transferring back to his main from his third. So he should be relatively well spread out. And he's actually making Archons, which is odd, and continuing with Immortal production. So I think it's going to be a 3-base big attack with a lot of Blink Stalkers. Probably adds on like 3 or 4 gateways and builds a Warp Prism and just goes.
Certainly a possibility. I do like the addition of that Archon, though. If you can get 2 or 3 Archons into that army, they are going to be able to very effectively deal with those Lings, which those Lings are extremely effective against your Immortals and your Stalkers. This really prevents you from having to warp in a ton of Zealots. You fire off a few Immortals in there in addition to your Blink Stalker Immortal army, and I like that composition quite a bit. Although there are a ton of Spine Crawlers coming down right now, and like you said, a few Lings going to be making their way into the natural, and a few Lings going to be making their way into the third as well. However, walled off at the natural, so that's not going to happen. And at the third, a decent amount of probes are going to go down, but the Stalkers, the Immortals, are going to be able to clean this up relatively effectively, although there's still a few Lings here in the mineral line, and going to continue killing workers and denying mining here. The probe's even going to start attacking. They're going to be able to clean that up eventually. And Zerg player going to try to make a hold here on his ramp, but nice force fields going down. They're going to be able to prevent the Roaches and Lynx from coming in as some infested Terrans come down. And continually nice force fields going to be able to segment off all those Zerg units and make sure that he's able to take out the Infestors, take out the infested Terran, and take out the Spine Crawlers before he has to engage with the Zerg army. And he's out of Infestor energy at this point with the last of these infested Terrans coming down, but force fields are gone as well. The Immortals taking so much damage from these infested Terran, but the Archon's able to soak up all the damage from the infested Terran over here as all of these Immortals are still alive, and 5+3 Immortals are now bearing down on the Zerg army as these Broodlords are still morphing, and it looks like the Zerg might just die right here. Red is in some serious trouble.
Yeah, this timing attack is so good. Essentially, it's so many units that you don't expect at that point because you're going for Broodlords. You're like, oh, okay, I've seen you take your third. I've really seen much Colossus tech, but I don't think you're going to do a timing attack quite yet, and if you do, I've got so many Infestors it just won't matter. What ended up happening is Brett used his Mongols, but then there were just so many more units that he couldn't deal with it, and all those Immortals murdered his Roaches, so that was really cool. Just because of the timing he hit, it was perfect.
Yeah, definitely. That was very cool. Some nicely placed force fields there. Able to make sure that he was able to only engage certain areas of the Zerg, being able to take out all those Spine Crawlers before he had to deal with the infested Terrans and the army as well. So just very well executed here by BabyKnight. Rhett trying to expand in 2 different locations over here. Once this attack does stop, he might be able to get his economy back up, but it looks like there's just absolutely no chance of BabyKnight stopping now. The FXO player wants to press his advantage, and GG comes out of the Liquid player. BabyKnight puts it 1-0 in this series.
Yep, like I said, just a really nice timing attack by BabyKnight. Nothing much else to say about that. He just hit the timing perfectly. Rhett was morphing Broodlords, and Stalkers were underneath them, which is not what you want. Yeah, hitting that timing right as Hive does come out, and the Zerg's trying to hide behind a ton of Spine Crawlers there. That's what every Zerg fears, waiting to get those high-tech units out, sitting on a relatively small army. You want to be able to conserve that Infestor energy and then attack with your Broodlords, but hitting with +3 Blink Stalkers, +3 Immortals. There were 6 Immortals in that composition. That is so much damage. Like 6 Immortals, that one-shot Spine Crawlers. Yeah. It's kind of absurd. But Rhett going to have to see if he can bring the series back to even in the next game. We're going to be heading on over there. I've been your casting host, Beef. Joining me, Brandon from Muatoran TV. Check his VODs out over at youtube.com/Muatoran TV. That is MUATARAN. And check me out at BeefPotPie1 on YouTube as well. Both of those are spelled out for you here in the overlay. And we will catch you guys in the next game. Thanks for watching.